Hello, it's Spades 109 here. This will probably be the last video that I do that for my intro for, only because it's silly, but I haven't seen you in a while. So that's where we are. Hello. It's a Get Ready With Me, where I'm just gonna talk about what's going on, where I've been, essentially. First we'll start off. Hello, this is my natural hair. I've brushed it out a little bit, so it's not quite as curly everywhere. But this is roughly what my hair looks like untamed. And I just let it air dry, so it's quite fluffy. It's not how I like to present myself to the world, so I'm going to use my curling iron to fix it. This is not on, obviously. However, I will be putting it here between my legs, quite centrally, while it's on. So I've turned it on now. We're going to put it here. I'm going to turn to the side. It does not help that look better. However, I don't want to burn myself. And I have a table over here, but it's just a lot more efficient to have this here. So watch me as I tame this mane, and talk about what's going on. So I think the last time I saw you guys, I hadn't gotten married. I'm married now, which is great. I guess I should start there. Got married it's gonna be a year in a few months. And I think it's going fine. I don't really... There wasn't much difference to me and my partner's routine, so nothing much has changed in that regard. It's about the same, really. Oh no, I don't have a hair tie. That's not very helpful. I kind of need that. I guess I can use one of these. But so not much really changed in our routine. Just because it didn't. We already lived together and we live with roommates. So getting married was more of a, I guess, arguably like a business transaction, you could argue. Like taxes, right? Like those are really the only things that changed with our relationship, other than like we're legally bound and such. But else, nothing really changed otherwise in our routine at all. So people are like, how's married life? Is it different? And I'm like, not really, no. Like I wasn't really, I guess the standard is like, get married, buy a house, have kids. Not in the process of buying a house soon, right now. At least not that I know of. And kids are not on the table currently, so nothing's changed. We had a honeymoon, we had a marriage, a wedding. It was fine. So that's that. I guess theater update. I'm currently in a show. I think I've done maybe 2 or 3 things in theater since I've seen you. I did something called the Haunted Rails Tour. And it is basically, we have this old railroad system, and we have old railroad cars, like train cars, and they're decommissioned, at least most of them are, and people can go to this mill railroad place and go check out these old cars and learn some history about them. And so during October, they make them into various haunted house like attractions, where the giant, I guess, barn that they keep all these big steam engines in, you can walk through, and they make a haunted house out of it, and it's themed to the railway system. And they like make a story up for it that's based on some of the local history, because it's a local thing, so they kind of just do it based on that. And so I was involved in that. I was essentially a stage manager, which if you're not familiar with theater, this is gonna fall on the ground. If you're not familiar with theater, your stage manager is basically your person backstage who, if anything goes wrong during the show, is there to communicate with the people who are doing lights and or sound, and like props, set changes. They're ready to fix things essentially, or if like we need to pause the show, or if there's an emergency, you go to the stage manager. They're essentially like your little lifeline backstage, and they have the script, they know the show, they know what's supposed to go on, they know your entrances and your exits, like they have all that information. So if anyone's lost, then a good stage manager can basically handle everything. And you can have assistant stage managers, which we call ASMs, very easy. And ASMs essentially just assist the stage manager. So for example, when I was in Evil Dead, the musical, I worked as an ASM. And so our stage manager was handling a bunch of cues and like communicating and with the light board and the sound board. He was on headset, whereas there were two of us who were assistant stage managers, and we handled the blood was like the big thing, and then the weapons. So when there are weapons in a show, it's dependent on the theater. But this was back when I was in college, so it was very, very strict weapon policy. As you can imagine, if you have weapons that look real, there should be somebody in charge of them, making sure that those aren't seen by the general public. Like, you don't want to cause a panic with that kind of stuff. And so one of my jobs was making sure that these weapons got locked up at the end of the night, making sure that they weren't laying around where anyone could grab them, stuff like that, and then being in charge of the gallons of fake blood that you need for Evil Dead. Whereas the stage manager was handling other stuff, right? It's like two handling a different job. Our stage manager could also do all this, but we're essentially helping them so he could focus on other things. So for the Haunted Rail Tour, they had different stations. So there was the haunted house, which they called the Roundhouse. And that was where all the trains were. They also had a escape room that was designed. They had another, I forgot what they call it, but it's a train that you walk through. There's also like a trolley where people could actually ride it, and there was like a little whole Bigfoot scene at the end, and then they come back, and it's because Bigfoot's like a big local thing around here, so people really care about Bigfoot. But anyways, I was essentially stage managing the Roundhouse. So if anyone needed water, or if something was going wrong, if there was a guest who was being unruly, if there was an emergency that was happening, I was the one with the walkie-talkie, so I could communicate with the people in charge of it, really, because there were people who were involved. There are 4 main people involved with making this event happen, but 2 of them were directly involved with an attraction, and like all of them were in charge of different attractions, but we only had really 2 people that were wandering, meant to solve problems, and that was their main purpose. And so we all had walkie-talkies to communicate that to each other. And so I was essentially in charge of keeping track of the haunted house and being there to call if something went wrong, just making sure my actors were okay, making sure the lights were working, making sure the sound was working okay, making sure the fog machines were going, filling up the fog machines. And that was my main job. So I did that for, I want to say 4 weekends in October, I think. I also did a show that was called Vanya and Sonia and Masha and Vasha and Spike. I could have mixed up that somewhere, but I think I did it correctly. I played a character called Nina. It's a comedic play about these older people and I guess their issues and like, yeah, it's it was not a bad experience. I don't think I'm a big comedy person in shows. I just am not. I don't want to say this. Comedy's rough for me, and I don't consider myself a very funny person on average. I think my humor is rather dry, and just, I don't know. It's not a show that I would go to watch myself. It was a show that I enjoyed being a part of, I suppose. I had a smaller part, and I know it's not talking about small parts, like, not as important. I'm saying I didn't have as many lines, and I wasn't in the show as long as other characters were. That's all I'm saying. It's like my character was technically a large source of conflict and helped move the plot along of the show. So I'm not complaining here. But I initially auditioned for the show and I didn't get in. And I wasn't really that upset about it. The character Nina could... Here's where I try not to complain about this play. All the characters in the show could easily be portrayed as archetypes. Like, you know, you have the bitchy starlet, you have the whiny older lady who just complains about her life. It's like, you have the gay one. It's like and you have like the super naive, innocent, just doesn't know what's going on in the world girl, along with like the hot dumb one. Like this play can be super archetype heavy in how you act it. I don't believe that's what our production did. I think our production made them very realistic. I think they, you know, we played our roles without leaning too hard into those archetypes. But essentially that's what my character was. So was the naive, kind of dumb one, in a way. And when I first auditioned for the show, I didn't do it as a favor, but I really like the director and I wanted to show up because she was directing it. And I think she offhandedly mentioned it to me. And so I was like, okay, let me try to work this out and I'll audition. And I wasn't really that attached because I knew the only character that I could get was Nina. Because all the other characters are meant to be older and I'm just not that age yet. So I knew that Nina was the only character realistically that I could get. And I wasn't super attached to her. I had read the script when she sent it to me and I just wasn't really attached. I didn't really care. And so when I didn't get her, I was like, cool, that's fine. I really wasn't that bummed about it. And then later that actress ended up dropping the show. And so the director, she asked me, she's like, hey, are you still available to do this part? And I was like, I mean, yeah. And their off book was like a week. When I start, like their off book date was like a week into my start, I think. So like, I think I started like Tuesday or Monday and then their off book was like the next week. So I got most of my lines off book by then. Just because, I mean, I guess it was trust by the director because she's like, yeah, I kind of want you off book too. And I was like, okay, great. And I did it. I managed it. And, you know, I did the show and the cast was lovely. The director's lovely. Definitely not my cup of tea. But, you know, at least it was an easy show. I kind of just got to be a naive pretty girl for most of it. And I just got to be a character that was endearing to the audience, who one of the other characters was mean to. So that was really my only role in that production, which is fine. I didn't care. It was a show. I did it. It was my first time doing it at the theater that I was in, so it was my debut for that theater, which is fun. Got some more connections. It was a decent time. So I did that. I don't know if I did another show in between that or not, because right now I'm working on Romeo and Juliet, and we open in July, and so our off book date is, we have a loose off book in a couple of weeks, and I'm playing the apothecary as my main role, and then I have a few citizen talking parts, and then I'm also Juliet's understudy. And so my main focus has been trying to get those lines done, because I'm not worried about the citizens and the apothecary. It'll take me maybe 30 minutes to have those lines memorized, because altogether there's like 6 of them. However, Juliet is a named character, and she talks quite a lot. And she has a lot of monologues. So I'm trying my hardest to be off book when I need to be. I'm only about maybe a quarter way through her scenes for memorization. If that, which I don't love, but I'm trying my best. I don't know. Shakespeare comes a little bit easier for me in terms of memorization, so I'm hoping that helps. I'm still putting in a lot of work, but the thing is, because I'm an understudy, I'm just showing up to Juliet's rehearsals, but I'm not doing the scenes myself, so, like, objectively, the actress playing Juliet has more opportunity to say the words. I need to do all that work on my own. So it's my first time being an understudy, which I honestly find kind of exciting. I've never done an understudy role before. I've filled in for roles countless times, as I said with Vanya. And it's like when I did A Midsummer Night's Dream, I ended up playing a fairy when initially I was already a fairy, but I became a fairy with speaking lines. When before I didn't have any. So, and then when I did Almost Maine, my friend dropped out of the show, and I ended up taking her spot, because the directors had already considered me for that position when they were initially casting the show. But part of, like, the joke of her scene was that she was tall and the person across from her was short, and I'm short and she was tall, and so it really makes sense why they cast it the way they did. But they're like, hey, we were also considering you for this, we know you can memorize the lines in time, so why don't you do it? And so it was like, okay, yeah, sure. Filled in for that. When I did a student production of a student written show, that was not done for profit, by the way, must say that. It was called the Super Mario Musical. It was written by a student, and I ended up playing Daisy because one of the characters needed to drop out. But all of those were instances of me filling in for a role and not expecting to. This is a lot different in that I know that I'm an understudy, and so there's a lot more prep work that goes into it. And in that same aspect, it lets me have all this prep work, because it's like, I don't find Shakespeare difficult. I find Shakespeare to be really rewarding, and I honestly enjoy diving into Shakespeare characters a lot more than I have enjoyed diving into others. I don't know. I find they're written in such a way that allows for a lot of interpretation, and you can act them in a lot of different ways. So I really love Shakespeare characters. I really do. And Juliet is such, like, not, but she's also like a blank slate. And so I really like getting to play with that. And it's fun getting to play a version of what the other person is doing for Juliet. Because we're going to talk about, I guess, this rejection, right? So I didn't get the part, obviously. I ended up getting her understudy. And we had different ways that we were portraying Juliet at auditions. And I 100% want to say that I understand why they cast her. I'm not upset. Like, obviously, I was really bummed I didn't get the part. I'm 100% honest. But the thing is, I like this actress, and I like watching her do Juliet. The more she reads, I'm so excited. I absolutely adore this show. I knew that I wanted to be part of it, regardless of what part I got. Even if I wasn't cast at all, I'd want to do tech on it. I love Romeo and Juliet. I adore this play. So, like, I don't want it to seem like I'm ungrateful or, like, any shade towards the actress. Nothing. I don't want it to come across that way at all, because it's not how I feel. That is not true to how I feel. Anyways, her way of doing Juliet was a lot more, I guess, traditional than the way that I auditioned for it. And it was a bit more what the directors were leaning towards and how they were doing this production, which makes sense. If, like, you're looking at I forget the director's name, but if you're looking at the, like, 90s version, Leonardo DiCaprio version of Romeo and Juliet, that is very different from a traditional portrayal of that story. And that's what I'm talking about. Her audition for Juliet followed in a very traditional way, which is what they were leaning. They're doing very historical, very period. That's how we're doing this show. And so I think it really makes a lot of sense that they cast her for it, and I think that she fits it really, really well. But what that means for me is that's not how I initially auditioned for Juliet. I auditioned in a different way. I'm not going to say that I auditioned one way over the other. It's just, it was a less traditional approach to her character. I guess you could argue, to give you some semblance of what I did, I leaned into, I don't know, comedy. I don't know how to, like, describe how I auditioned, because I don't even remember also. But I understood what the directors meant when they, when it came to talking about her version, and I'm like, yeah, that's not how I auditioned for the character, and I know that. And so knowing that we're going for more historical and we're going for more traditional in how Juliet plays her role in this show, I have to then adapt how I portray the character to fit that a bit more. And I'm not trying to copy what the actress is doing who's playing Juliet, but I'm trying to keep it in mind. It's like, our performances are never going to be the same. I'm never going to be able to perform Juliet the way that this actress does. It's just not going to happen. We're two different people. We're going to inflect slightly differently. It's just how it is. So I'm taking all the things that they're telling her about how they want to lean into this, and I'm trying to adapt that to how I would play this character, how I can. So it's like, what does my traditional version of Juliet look like? I inherently have a different voice. I inherently have a different way that I'm going to carry myself. I can try carrying myself the exact same way. It's still going to be different. And so what exactly do I do to adjust to that? And so I've been having a lot of fun with it, honestly. It's a little stressful, and it definitely, I really hope that I get a rehearsal where I can run through the entire show as Juliet, just because if, forbid, anything happens and I actually need to go on as an understudy, it won't be me completely blind into this show. That's the ideal thing, because another thing is that because I'm playing an understudy, I'm sure most people would assume, given a lot of people in my life have made these jokes and have made these assumptions that I would like to play her. And the thing is, yes, I wouldn't, there's no reason to take an understudy role without any desire to play that character, I guess, other than they're like, everybody has an understudy and we need you to fill that in. That's not the case for our show. There are only 2 understudies in our show. One understudy is for the apothecary, my character, and Juliet. So that makes sense. But the thing is, I, as a fellow actress, as a fellow person, I would hate to go on as an understudy for Juliet, because I have been in the position where somebody has had to go on as a character I normally play because I wasn't able to do it. Back when I was in Midsummer, I got COVID, and I wasn't able to do a single performance during that show. Meaning the 10 days, whatever, I was testing negative. There was one night where I wasn't able to go on. I was able to go on the next night. And it was only a Friday, so, I made the Saturday shows. I made the matinee. And it's heartbreaking. And especially since I was sick, I was literally forced to quarantine. This isn't, I'm not playing games here. We can't just, it's not like I hurt my leg and I'll have a limp on stage. It's like I have a infectious cold, essentially, that is highly contagious, and I cannot bring that upon the rest of the cast. So there was no way I was going on with the regulations in place, especially. It's like, no, there's no way. And I was heartbroken. I was so upset. I hate that. And to wish that upon another actress so that I selfishly can play a role that I wasn't initially cast in, I would never wish that upon somebody. I just don't. So it's like, yeah, I'd love to go on as Juliet. I would. But at the same time, I don't wish for it. I hate it. I would feel awful. I would. But at the same time, as an understudy, my job, in my opinion, understudies should be able to go on in a show and you can't tell they're an understudy. That's how I believe that understudies should be done. Because it's like, when I was lucky enough to go to New York for my honeymoon, and we went and saw some Broadway shows. We saw The Great Gatsby, and Ava and Jeremy. I saw most of the original cast for Gatsby, but the person who plays Jordan, I can't remember her name, but I might help. She was also in 6, but she wasn't able to be there. I think she had a cold or an injury or something. I want to say it was a cold, and so she was played by an understudy, and I couldn't tell. I think there were 2 or 3 understudies in that show that we watched, and I couldn't tell the difference. There was none. So it's just one of those things where I don't believe that I see really an understudy as an extension of the cast. And how I view theater and how I view the roles in theater is that if you're not cast in a show, it's not necessarily that you're not good enough. And it kind of comes down to the director's vision a little bit. And it's like, it's not that your performance wasn't good. It's not that your acting was bad. And this is not all the time, obviously. But it's that you just weren't the right, that just this person fit the box more, right? It's like you can both be cubes, but
this cube was just like a tiny percent more the cube we were looking for, right? And there's nothing against it. So it's like the fact that I was made an understudy in the first place is an honor to me. It means that they went in this show where we don't have any other understudies for characters, that we want you to be one. That's an honor to me. And obviously it still sucks that I didn't get Juliet. It does. I'm still trying to like deal with that emotional turmoil a little bit. Just because she's my dream role. I really wanted to play her. And I'm gonna keep getting older, as people do, and I'm already really realistically like kind of aged out of her character. However, I am short. If I stay looking young, I could be 30 playing Juliet because of how short I am. Like, that could happen realistically. But realistically, also, I am aged out of the role, and so I don't know if I'll ever get the chance to play her again. At the very least, not if I stay locally, because no one's going to be doing this show in a while around here. So I would need to go and audition somewhere else and hopefully get the role then. But regardless, I really value the understudy as someone who can go on and make the audience not realize that there is an understudy playing that role. And that they just know what they're doing, and the audience gets the best possible performance that they can get. So it feels a little awkward to be doing so, but I'm going to all of Juliet's rehearsals. I'm learning all her lines. I'm taking every single note that the directors tell her, and I'm making note of it myself. I'm keeping track of all her blocking. I am studying this rich text so incredibly deeply. So if there's even the tiniest chance that I have to go on, I'm 100% ready and prepared, and I know what to do. And I'm doing, I'm doing the work, and I'm putting the work in, and that's what I believe that I should be doing. That's what I believe should be happening. So yeah, I find being an understudy pretty fulfilling. And I just really want to take the role that I was given seriously. And yeah. And then after this, I will probably be auditioning for the play that goes wrong. I've never watched the play, and I don't know hardly anything about it. I've seen clips that like high schools have like posted before, or maybe official clips of the show. I don't know. I know very little about this play, because the title kind of gives you the main premise, and like I said, not a big comedy person, so it's not a show that I would go see, but it's a show that I kind of want to be part of. I will end up seeing it if any of the people I know end up being cast in it, which they probably will. I have been in my local theater community since 2019, so like give or take 6 years. So like I've built up enough, not necessarily rapport. I don't think rapport is the right word. But like I've met a lot of people in the theater community doing community shows for that long, and going to community events and going to these things. So it's like I know people. There's going to be somebody I know in that show, just because it's, there's only so many people doing theater in the community. There are very, very talented people in this community who do shows. Comedic people especially, who I know will get cast, and who will be great fits. So it's like I'll probably end up seeing it anyways, even though I don't really want to otherwise. And I'm sure I'll enjoy the show. But I do think I want to audition. I want to try branching out into comedy more, even though I think I'm not that funny. But that's probably on the horizon. I will be also, I will be directing in the near future a show that I cannot say, and it's just in case anybody who knows me happens to see this, or anybody stumbles upon this video and makes it this far in. I can't say what show that I will be directing in the near future, nor can I say which company I will be directing it with. But I've got that coming up, and so once Romeo and Juliet is over, if I do not get cast in the play that goes wrong, all of my focus will be turned to that show, because it will be a much larger cast than I think I've ever worked with before. The last show I directed was No Exit by Jean-Paul Sartre, and that was a cast of 4 characters where only 3 of them were on stage most of the time, and there were also there were hardly any entrances or exits. It was a lot of dialogue heavy directions. It's like paying attention to what they're saying, a lot of line memorizations. It was a lot of blocking, because when you have 3 people on stage for 90 minutes, they can't sit as long in a show that has more people entering, more things going on. This is off. Ow, that is hot. So this show that I will be working on is going to involve a lot more people. It is just as dialogue heavy. There's a lot of philosophical talking in this show. And there's a much larger cast. And though the setting is still going to be fairly limited, so I don't have a lot of scene changes, which is nice. I like not working with a lot of scene changes. There's going to be a lot more people. And there's essentially, I don't know if I'm giving this away too much. I probably already am. There's essentially 2 different stories at work here with the show. And so it's a lot more for me to keep track of. But I'm excited regardless. I'm really excited to be doing the show. I've been thinking about the show for a while. I've never seen it performed, so this will be my first, attempt at this. No Exit, I had read it multiple times. I hadn't seen any productions, but I had read it multiple times. And so I had a bit more to go off of. I haven't read this show as much. No Exit is roughly 90 minutes. This show is more like 2.5 hours, and it involves a lot more people. So it's a very big jump in terms of how I'm directing, and what's going on. But I'm excited for it. I'm genuinely really, really thrilled to be working on it. Yeah. But I can't really say much more on that other than I'm working on sets, I'm working on costumes, I'm doing research. I don't know. I've got such a love for theater, and I really love working in all parts of it. It's like they just scratch different itches of my brain, because it's like with the Haunted Rail Tour, it's like I didn't want to be a performer in that. And every time I've done a haunted house, I've always tried to be a guide. I try to help behind the scenes. I don't like doing the scaring thing. I'm like, I don't feel that in my soul. I don't feel scary. It feels silly to me when I do it. This is my personal opinion. It feels silly to me. I don't really want to scream. I don't think I've got a very good scream. So it's just like, it's not what I'm looking to. I like managing it. I like helping people. And I like, working with fake blood. I really like working with fake blood. It's fun. I like working with fog machines. I like doing all the SFX stuff. I like doing the makeup for it. That's super fun to me. And then in terms of acting, it's like I love acting in Shakespeare. I absolutely love Shakespeare. And so I think I want to start auditioning for more of that as I continue, just because I feel like I still want to get more Shakespeare under my belt. So I'm going to keep pushing for that. I'm not really into musicals. I'm not a singer, and I'm not a big dancer. I can do it. I don't really want to. It's not where my draw is. I would probably do tech for a musical. I don't, if I chose to do it in the first place, because I kind of need to really like the songs to even do tech. And musicals don't inspire me as much as other people. I love singing them on my own private time, listening to them in my car, and that is what I enjoy. And then in terms of directing, I really like philosophical shows. I like heavy theater. I like drama. I'm not big on comedy. I like shows where you really need to question yourself, question life. Those are the shows that I'm really drawn to as a director. And I think I could do fun shows, but it's like I love the dissection of things. And when you're dealing with, I mean this so respectfully, when you're dealing with a show like Seussical, it's like there's a limit to what you've got in terms of depth, and versus a show like No Exit, where you're dealing with these really complex characters, you're dealing with the verge of these characters being likable or unlikable. You know, there's a lot of balancing acts involved with that. So I'm really excited to be directing in the near future. I'm excited to be doing Romeo and Juliet. Even if I'm not actually playing her, I essentially am, and at least I'm doing the work for it. So that's exciting. I don't know. I've just kind of got, in terms of theater, I've got a lot lined up right now that I'm really, really excited about. So once this show's over, I'll see if the play goes okay. And that'll show up in September if I do that. So I'll basically be jumping from this show to that one, if that happens. And if I don't get it, I'm just going to spend all my time focusing on the near future show, and getting more details of that oriented. So that I'm excited for. Yeah, I don't really know what next year counts, because that's kind of what I'm already looking at. And I'll need to see, they haven't announced all the shows for this upcoming 2026 season at the main theater that I look to do theater at, just because it's closer to where I live and it is therefore a bit more easy on my time. Sorry, I wanted to put it up. I look so silly like this, I think, though. I'm gonna, for the sake of looking pretty for this video, I'm going to keep my hair down, but this will be going up immediately. But yeah, I'm still finding time to read. Work is going well. Those are like the biggest things I'd say that are happening right now. I'm still like writing offhand, but basically all my downtime right now though is working on Juliet. Like I did my hair so I could get ready for the day. I've got rehearsal and my phone's right there. I'm recording on it. I don't know what time it is. But it's not 5 yet, so I've got rehearsal probably in like, I don't know, 2-3 hours. Maybe an hour. And so all my free time has basically been trying to memorize her lines, and only working on the script. I'm like reading in other bouts of free time, and just kind of when I'm doing anything, I'm trying to do her monologues in my head. I'm going through all her scenes, and yeah, luckily Shakespeare is fairly understandable to me. Like I read it and I can generally know what they're saying. So at least in that aspect, it's not as hard. Yeah, I don't know. That's what I have going on. Sorry it's been so long. I don't know. This video is not going to be edited. I'm throwing up this like 45-minute video. If you sit through it, that's great. If you don't, I completely understand. I'm just talking, and I was doing my hair when I was doing so. I don't know when I'm going to post again. I intend to. But yeah, I've got a lot going on right now. I don't really have time to work on videos. I don't know. I'm just kind of vibing. And it's pretty great. But yeah, just wanted to check in there. Mental health update, because I have talked about this on the channel before. I'm doing okay. I think every day is its own challenge and every day changes. But other than that, I'm doing okay. Yeah. I'm here. It's good to see you again. Thank you if you stayed through this entire video. I understand I was just talking and rambling for 45 minutes. And so now I'm probably gonna go work on more lines, or maybe I'll give myself a 10-minute break of talking first. And then I'll go work on more lines. But yeah, thank you. The finished result, in case you did not see it, it's just less poofy, which was my main goal. I washed my hair today, so I expect most of these curls to fall out. Like some of them will stay, but I like using that curling wand when I don't care about how my hair is gonna fall out. It's gonna end up straightening quite a bit throughout the day, and I'll have it up for rehearsal, so I'm not too concerned about it. I just didn't want it to be a poofy mess for when I got into public. Anyways, thank you. Good to see you. Yeah. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.